started with this message. And so here's what I want to start off by asking you. I want you to think about a dream, a goal, something that you really want to accomplish, something that you want to make happen. I don't know what that thing is for you. Maybe perhaps you've been wanting to start a business. Maybe you've been thinking about writing a book. Maybe you've been thinking about making some kind of significant career change. Maybe you are trying to design a career around your gifts, your skills, and your talents. I don't know what that thing is, that thing that you really want. And so here's what I want you to think about. I just want you to really envision that dream. Now, here's what I need you to realize. You see, the dream is free. It doesn't cost you anything to actually come up with the dream. You know, the dream is absolutely free, but let me tell you what's going to cost you. What it's going to do is, see, it's going to cost you in order to fulfill the dream. It's going to cost you in order to realize the dream. It's going to cost you in order to pursue the dream. And so my only question for you right now, and the whole premise of this message that I'm sharing with you right now, is my question for you is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay the price in order to make this goal, this dream, this thing that you have to become a reality? Because here's what I know. Here's what I know. You see, most people, where the friction lies is they have a dream. They know what it is that they want to do. I mean, they've been dreaming about this career change. They've been dreaming about going back and getting another degree. They've been dreaming about having a happy, fulfilling marriage. They've been dreaming about losing the weight. They've been dreaming about being debt-free. They have the dream. They know what the dream is, but where the turmoil lies is most people, unfortunately, haven't made the decision yet as to whether or not they're willing to pay the price for the dream. And you see, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where your dream becomes a reality. It's once you've, number one, realized what the dream is and that you can dream this dream. But the second part is once you've come to the conclusion that you're willing to pay the price, once you've come to the realization that you're willing to do whatever it takes in order to accomplish the goal in your dream. And here's what I know, that most people don't accomplish their goals and their dreams. Most people don't get to the place that they want to get in life. Why? Not because they don't have the dream. No. The reason why is because they're not willing to pay the price for the dream. And so as you think about this goal, this dream, this thing that you want to make happen, I want you to start thinking about, what is it going to cost you? What sacrifices are you going to have to make? What is it that you're going to have to do in order? I mean, is it going to require you to actually invest in yourself? Are you going to have to get some coaching, some mentoring? Is it going to require you to give up a little bit of sleep? Are you going to have to wake up a little earlier in the morning, or maybe work a little later on into the evening? Is it going to require you to sacrifice your time? Is it going to require you to abandon and give up some old habits? Is it going to require you to maybe cut up some old credit cards? Is it going to require you to step outside of your comfort zone? You see, there is going to be a price attached. And here's what I need you to realize, that once you make the decision that you're willing to pay the price, then listen, it's easy going after that. You see, once you've made the decision and you've made it up in your mind that you're going to pay the price to get this business off the ground, that you're willing to pay the price to make your marriage work, that you're willing to pay the price to get out of debt, that you're willing to pay the price to get this other degree, you're willing to pay the price to be able to do this thing that you've been wanting to do. Once you realize and you've come to the conclusion that you're willing to pay the price, then let me tell you, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be some struggles. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be some difficulties, but that is the hardest part. And here's what I need you to realize. Most people haven't even come to the conclusion as to whether or not they're willing to pay the price. You know, I think about when I was still back in corporate America, and this was over a decade ago. And I spent all this time getting my undergraduate degree, getting my undergraduate degree in accounting, my master's degree in corporate accounting, and preparing and studying for the CPA exam. And here I am working for this amazing CPA firm, PricewaterhouseCoopers, an amazing company. And then I remember showing up at the job, and now I'm starting to have this dream. And the dream that was coming to me is, you know, I started dreaming what it was like to be an entrepreneur. I started dreaming, actually waking up every day and actually doing something that I love, as opposed to what I was doing to just simply get a paycheck. I started dreaming about the possibilities. And here's what I need you to realize. You see, there was no cost attached to the dream. You see, it's free to just dream. And so if you get around a lot of people and you listen to their conversations, you know, they're always telling you about their dreams. You know, it doesn't cost you anything to dream. It doesn't cost you anything to dream about the big house. It doesn't cost you anything to dream about writing the book. It doesn't cost you anything to dream about starting your own business. It doesn't cost you anything to dream about having an amazing marriage. That doesn't cost you anything. Realize this, that where you've got to pay the price is once you make the decision that you're going to pursue the dream. Now, once you make the decision that you're going to pursue the dream, there is going to be a cost. Once you make the decision that you want to fulfill the dream, there is going to be a cost. Once you make the decision that you actually want to realize the dream, there is a cost. So you see, for about 1.5 years, I was just dreaming. I was dreaming about stepping out on faith. I was dreaming about becoming an entrepreneur. I was dreaming about pursuing my goals and my dreams. I was dreaming about doing what it is that I'm doing right now. And listen, there was no cost attached to it. Yeah, it took up a little brain time, but that was it. There's no real, but let me tell you, the moment that I decided I was going to pursue the dream, the moment that I decided that I wanted to actually live the dream, the moment that I made the decision that I wanted to realize the dream, let me tell you, that was the moment that there was a cost attached to it. You see, because let me tell you something, I had to get uncomfortable. I had to do something that was completely uncomfortable. I had to walk into the office of HR and turn in my letter of resignation. You see, that cost me something. You know what? I was fearful. I had to do it afraid, as Joyce Meyer would say. Let me tell you, I had to abandon that paycheck that was hitting my bank account every 2 weeks. Let me tell you something, that cost me something. I had to start investing in mentors and start reading the books and tapes and going to motivational events and going to workshops and seminars to develop new skills. Let me tell you something, that cost me something. And along the journey, I made some mistakes that cost me some money and also cost me a lot of time, effort, and energy. That cost me something. And you see, I can tell you right now that over a decade, 10 years later, over 10 years later, right, that I can tell you right now that if I go back and I look at the experience, I have had to pay a significant cost. You see, I've had to overcome some setbacks. I had to overcome some trials. I had to overcome some self-doubt. I had to push past some pain. I had to push past some failure. At moments when I thought about going back and asking for my job back, at moments when I was second guessing myself, I had to lean in and continue to push forward. Let me tell you something. There was a cost attached to that. And so you see, it's easy to look at the outcome. It's easy to spectate and look at somebody else who is maybe perhaps living the dream or living their dream, or look at somebody else who's in the process of realizing their dream and looking on and saying, wow, I want to do that. Let me tell you, it doesn't cost you anything to dream. But the moment you say that you're going to pursue the dream, the moment that you make the decision that you're going to want to actually realize the dream, realize this, that there's going to be a cost attached. And so the only question is, and you're going to have to be very honest with yourself because you're the only one that can answer this question is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to do what it takes? And what I'm saying is, if you're willing to pay the price, then by all means, go after the goal and the dream. By all means, make this thing become a reality. But if you're not willing to pay the price, realize this, you just got to be quiet. You just got to table it, because otherwise all you're doing is you're dreaming. It's just the dream. It's just great conversation. And so realize this, that if you look around and we've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty myself of having great conversation, talking about what you want to do, what you would like to do, and what you're, as they'll say, fixing to do, or what, you know, I know that's proper English, right? But you know, I'm fixing to chase my dreams. I'm fixing to make some things happen. I want to make some change. But realize this, dreaming, that's free. Talk, that's cheap. But at some point, you got to be willing to go out there. At some point, you got to be willing to get uncomfortable. At some point, you got to be willing to endure the pain. At some point, you got to be willing to lean in and get hit in the face a couple of times by life and get pushed down on the ground a couple of times and be willing to get back up over and over and over again. And what I'm saying to you is, once you're willing to pay the price, what happens is then you begin to step into your dream. Once you're willing to pay the price, then all of a sudden you start realizing that, wait a second, this business is actually coming a reality. Once you're willing to pay the price, you say, wait a second, I'm getting closer and closer to actually getting this degree. Once you're willing to pay the price, all of a sudden you say, wait a second here, I'm noticing that there's starting to be a turnaround in my marriage. Once you're willing to pay the price, you start to get a taste and you start to live and you start to realize the dream. But until you're willing to pay the price, it's just a dream. And so you've got to be willing to ask yourself the question. And the real question is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you willing to make some things happen? You know, I remember it was some years back, and I have one of my fraternity brothers that on, you know, people were looking on the outside, and I mean, it just looked like he had just an explosive growth. I mean, out of nowhere, he started a company. The company was actually doing over $1 million a year, and he had a beautiful home, you know, a 2-story house with a built-out basement, a built-in theater in his home, and then, you know, he went and bought a brand new, beautiful Mercedes-Benz S-Class. And I remember speaking to some of my other fraternity brothers, and they're saying, man, did you notice, man? I mean, this guy's having success, man. He's so lucky. Who would have ever thought, man, that the amount of success that he's having? Look at, man. Have you heard how well his company is doing? Hey, did you go by and see his house, man? Did you see the pictures of, man? Did you see the new car that he bought? And so all of them were just sort of looking on and spectating. And so I decided to pick up the phone and give him a call and say, hey, man, listen, man, you know, everyone's calling me, telling me how great you're doing, man. I just want to call, man, and say congratulations, man. I'm so happy for you. And he said, Andy, listen, man, you know, I'm flattered. I'm happy that they're talking about my success. But you see, few of them have been willing to pick up the phone and give me a call, because you see, if they called me, they would learn about the cost that was attached to the success. You see, Andy, if they would call me, they would know that when things got difficult, when 9/11 happened and the economy shifted, they would learn that me and my 2 business partners that started the business, who had just done $1 million the previous year, they would know that our company went from making $1 million to the company now making just $60,000 for the year. You see, what they would learn is that my 2 business partners who started the business with me, who were there when the business was prospering and things were going well, what they would know is that those 2 business partners decided to leave. And see, what they would know is when those 2 business partners left, they left, but they didn't just leave. They left me with over $200,000 worth of debt. You see, if they would have called me, Andy, they would have learned about the cost. They would have learned that after my business partners left, after we lost about 80% of our clients, that there are many times that I was waking up and I had to make the decision on whether or not I was going to put gasoline in my car or whether or not I was going to eat. And see, if they would have called me, they would have learned about the cost that was attached. They would know that I had creditors that were calling me every single week that were asking me to pay for some outstanding debt. If they would have called me, they would have understood that unfortunately I had all this outstanding debt and there was no more income coming in. You see, if they would have called me, Andy, they would have realized that my house was going into foreclosure. You see, Andy, if they would have called me, here's something else they would have realized, is that there was one particular weekend when our fraternity had the major conference in our state, and all of our fraternity brothers were in town, and everybody was calling me and they were trying to figure out why I didn't pick up the phone. You see, if they would have called me, they would have realized that I was in town. I was at my house. But I was so depressed because I couldn't pay my mortgage. I was so depressed because I didn't know how I was going to build this business back up. I was so depressed, and I was curled up in a dark room. I couldn't even turn the lights on. And I saw my telephone ringing, phone call after phone call, and I wanted to pick up the phone, but I couldn't even pick up the phone, Andy, because that was my state of mind. If they would have called me, they would have realized that there was a serious cost attached to the success. I said, whoa. Yeah, I don't hear anybody sharing that part of the story. He says because they didn't bother calling to learn about that part of the story. You see, they're looking at the success, Andy, but none of them have actually decided to pick up the phone to find out what was the cost. And he says that I'm grateful and I'm thankful for the success that I have right now. But he says, here's what I also know: there's very few people who would have been willing to pay the cost. And so here's what I need you to realize, that it's good for you to dream. I mean, it's awesome for you to have a powerful dream, an amazing dream, a dream that makes you uncomfortable, a dream that when you think about it, it's so big, you don't even know exactly how you're going to make it happen. A dream that in which you can envision yourself using your gifts, your skills, and your talents and actually making a living, as opposed to going to a job every day and simply just trying to make a living, but rather putting yourself in a position where you're actually living out your making. You're doing that thing that you were called to do. You know, the type of dream where you're thinking about, you have this business and you're actually employing people and you have the ability to make decisions, to have financial freedom, to be able to provide for your family. You know, the type of dream in which you're debt free, the type of dream in which you're traveling the world, the type of dream in which you're able to bless other people and sow seeds into other people's lives and be able to write big checks to charities and be able to help people out. It's great to have that type of a dream. But realize this, that the dream itself is free. But see, there's a second stage now, and the second stage is, are you willing to pursue the dream? Are you willing to go out and try to realize the dream? Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to pay the price? You see, here's what I know. There's always going to be a price. And so I remember seeing a quote that says, happy is the man or the woman who dreams the dream and is also willing to pay the price to accomplish the dream. You see, there's friction and there's turmoil when you have a dream, but you know in your heart that you're not willing to pay the price. And so there are people that I speak to them all the time, and they have no problem at all verbalizing the dream. But here's what I need you to realize, that when I ask them the question, well, why aren't you doing it? Why haven't you started the business? Why haven't you made this thing happen? What I can tell you right now is the friction lies in the fact that they know that they haven't made the decision as of yet as to whether or not they're willing to pay for the actual cost of the dream. And so what I'm saying to you is, it's a very simple decision that you have to make. And the decision that you have to make right now is, are you willing to pay the cost? Are you willing to pay the price in order to realize your dream? It's okay to dream, but are you willing to pay the price? And so as you get on this conference call all the time, you hear me talk about, the gentleman that actually hosts the conference call. His name is Louis Morier, and his nickname is the comeback expert. And the reason why we call him the comeback expert is because Louis was just on a beautiful Saturday just decided to get on his motorcycle and take a little motorcycle ride just very close to his house. I went on the very road that he took that motorcycle ride on to go visit one of his cousins. And as Louis was on that motorcycle, like he's got on that motorcycle so many times before, he unfortunately was coming down a two-way lane, and he saw somebody who looked like they were veering into his lane, and Louis just sort of overreacting. So he made a sharp turn on the motorcycle, and after doing so, boom, Louis hits the curb, goes off the motorcycle, comes down, and boom, lands on the median. I mean, Louis attempts to get up, and unfortunately, you've heard them tell people before, listen, if you're in a major accident, don't attempt to get up. And this is the reason why. When Louis attempted to get up, unfortunately, he had a broken rib cage, and that punctured his spine. And so Louis wakes up in the hospital. And so eventually Louis would go into having surgery, and the doctor would come in and he would tell him, Louis, listen, man, we got good news is that the surgery went well, but the bad news is, Louis, listen, you're most likely never, ever, ever going to walk again. And you see, here's what I realized. You see, there's a lot of people now that would see Louis, and they would see him walking on the cane, and they may not even bother to really know what's the story. What's the story with this guy who's using this cane to walk around. But see, if they were to actually take some time to learn about the success that he's had, if they were to take the time to learn about this amazing comeback that has literally taken him 10 years, and he's still in the process of this comeback. You see, if they were to take the time to actually learn the story, you see, what they would learn is that Louis has paid an enormous price. You see, because according to the doctor, Louis should just be laying down in that hospital bed, or maybe laying down on his back. But because Louis was willing to pay the price, he made the transition from going in that hospital bed to eventually getting into a wheelchair. And through literally years of effort and rehab, that Louis was able to go from that wheelchair to eventually using a walker. And see, what they would learn is that Louis has actually taken flights overseas in order to get alternative treatment. Well, what they would learn is that Louis has spent thousands of dollars in actually doing stem cell research type of therapy to see if he could correct the effects that happen on his spine. You see, what they would know is all the hours and the countless hours of therapy in the water, the water aquatic therapy that he underwent. What they would know is the frustration of him just trying to learn the basic motor skills again, of being able to put the left foot in front of the right foot. You see what they would learn is that the cost that has been attached to his comeback. And so here's what I know. Many of us, we have a dream, and many of us, we're looking to defy the odds like Lewis did. You know, we came from a certain background, and so we're not expected to make it. And so we want to defy the odds. We accomplished something and we experienced a serious setback. Something happened. And if someone were to look at our circumstances, someone to look at what happened to us, they wouldn't expect us to be able to come back. They wouldn't expect us to be able to recover. Or are there some of you right now that if you look at your circumstances, you look at your means right now, and you look at your goal, if you look at your circumstances and your goal and your dream, that there's a disconnect. They're not in alignment because your circumstances say that you shouldn't have a dream that size. Your circumstances says that you shouldn't even be able to get to that level. But here's what I need you to realize, that something special happens, like what happened in Lewis's case, when you're willing to pay the price. When you're willing to put it all on the line. When in spite of what has been said to you, you're willing to defy the odds. When you're willing to get completely uncomfortable. When you're willing to push yourself to the limits. I mean, push yourself and discover things about yourself that you didn't even know, things that you didn't even begin to imagine. Something begins to happen. And what happens is the dream that was just once a thought, the dream that was once just an idea, the dream that was once just great conversation, that dream begins to become a reality. And the reason why is because you're willing to pay the cost. And so I'm going to sum it down to this right now. And so I want you right now to think about, what is this goal? What is this dream? This thing that you're looking to accomplish? I want you to think about it right now, envision it in your mind. And I believe that only you know the magnitude of your dream. Only you know this thing that it is. You don't have to necessarily share with anybody right now. I just want you to think about, what is that thing, that dream that's been lying dormant in your life, that thing that if fear was not in your way, if the self-doubt was not in your way, if all those elaborate excuses you have were not in your way, that thing that you would pursue. I want you to think about that dream, that big dream. You know what it is. Some of you have been sitting on this dream now for quite some time. Think about that dream. And now that you've thought about what that dream is, here's what I want you to think about. And the question I have for you is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to pay the price to make this dream a reality? Are you willing to pay the price to finally be able to leave this job that you've been working, that you know that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired? Are you willing to pay the price now and to move forward in the direction of your goals and your dreams? Are you willing to let go of the certainty and pursue this uncertainty? Are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? Are you willing to carve the time aside to work on your dream? Are you willing to let go of the ropes and step into the middle of the ring? Are you willing to take some punches and understand that you're going to get hit and you might have to fall down and learn how to get back up over and over again? Are you willing to pay the price? And once you make the decision that you're willing to pay the price, here's what I say: by all means, now you are entitled to the dream. You are entitled to your dream. The moment you make the decision that you're willing to pay the price, that is your admission to now step into the ring. That is your admission to be able to fulfill the dream. And so if you're willing to pay the price, if you're willing to do whatever it takes that's legal, whatever you take that's within the premises of your values, whatever it takes without you harming or imposing on somebody else. Once you make the decision that you're willing to pay the price, then what I say, from that moment on, then so it is. Then the dream is yours to have. The dream is yours to keep. The dream is yours to become reality. So what I'm saying to you right now is, stop sitting on your dream and stop just talking about your dream. Stop daydreaming. And let me tell you, all that's free. But now this is the time, right now, this moment, to begin to pay the price. And you know what the price is. And you know what it is that you have to do. And so most of us, we try to act and we pretend like we don't know what to do. You know what you do. You know exactly what you need to do. The only thing is, you're afraid of doing it because you know it's going to cost you something. And so what I'm saying is this is the moment right now to pay the price. This is the moment for you to declare right now that you're willing to pay the price. And if you're willing to pay the price, what I'm telling you right now, you at that moment become entitled to the dream. The dream is yours to have. And so I'm looking forward to hearing about your goals and your dreams. But what I'm really looking forward to is I'm looking forward to hearing about the cost and the price that you're willing to pay. Because here's what I know. Once you commit to paying the price, that the dream, it's only a matter of time before it comes to reality. Once you commit to paying the price, that dream, it's only a matter of time before you're realizing the dream. Once you're willing to pay the price, it's only a matter of time before that dream goes from being a good idea, from being a good thought, from being a good conversation, to now you're literally living the dream. And people can look at your life and see you living your dream and see you doing what you got to do. So right now, I'm giving you permission, but I'm also challenging you to go beyond the conversation, to go beyond the thought, and stop making the excuses, and to be willing right now, this minute, to pay the price for your dream. And will it cost you? Absolutely. Is it going to be difficult at times? Absolutely. Are you going to want to cry at times? Absolutely. Are there going to be some roadblocks at times? Absolutely. Are you going to want to curl up in a ball at times? Absolutely. But is it worth it? Absolutely. And so all you got to be willing to do is, number one, have the dream. But number two, you got to be willing to pay the cost. But once you're willing to pay the cost, realize this, that the dream is yours to have. This is your time. So just pay the cost. And you know this wouldn't be Andy Henriquez if I didn't end by telling you this. Show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Yes, indeed. It's your dream. Now pay the price. Thank you so much for joining me for the Show Up for Your Life motivational movement. And if for some reason you and I were not connected, I want to be connected with you. And so here's a simple way for you and I to connect. First thing I want you to do is I want you to go to the website, showupforyourlife.com. When you go to the website, showupforyourlife.com, you're going to see a banner. And in the banner, you can put in your name and your email address. Go ahead and do that. Put your name and email address. It's going to allow me to send you an instant motivational message. It's going to allow me to continue to share videos with you and resources that I believe is going to allow you to show up in your personal life as well as showing up in your business, which I believe is so very important. And not only that, but I would love for you to join the Show Up for Your Life community. And so if you would at this moment, just open up a separate web browser. And in the browser, I want you to type in showupgroup.com. Type in showupgroup.com. And that's going to direct you to a private group that we have. And when you get to that group, just simply send us a request to join the group. And I would love to go ahead and allow you to join the group. And you'll join the community, a couple of other 100 people, and you'll be able to interact and meet some of the other people who are part of Show Up for Your Life movement. So make sure you do that. Go to showupgroup.com. Now, for those of you who are watching this via live stream and you've been wanting to sort of interact with me, and I know you can't sort of talk in and chime in during the Q&A session, understand this, that you can go to the Show Up group and you can go ahead and type in your comments, your questions, and your feedback, and I'll make sure that I give you a shout out during the rest of this live motivational live stream. And of course, like we always do, I'm going to go ahead and have Lewis, the host of the Show Up for Your Life motivational movement, open up the conference call lines, and I'm going to take in a couple of live questions